Brexit Day isn't happening, at least not the way it was originally scheduled to. March 29, 2019 was the original deadline for the day that Britain was actually supposed to exit the European Union. But the UK Parliament has failed, time and again, to make a deal regarding the terms of the exit that people can agree on. And so March 29th is passing, just another day, and Britain remains in the EU. Right-wing anti-immigration hardliners were ready to celebrate, with people like former UKIP leader Nigel Farage calling it Britain's Independence Day. They were planning to bring in Brexit supporters by bus to Brussels, Belgium, the de facto capital of the European Union, and pop champagne while they watched the European Parliament lower the UK flag for the last time. And they were reportedly going to try to make the EU cover their travel expenses too. The fact is, the British people and its lawmakers remain deeply divided over whether they should stay or go, and over how they should manage the process of leaving. 2 years ago, on March 29, 2017, the UK invoked Article 50 of the Treaty of the European Union, the formal declaration needed to indicate they were going to break up with the EU. It's never been done before by any other EU member, and once you invoke it, you have 2 years to negotiate the terms of your exit. Now, those negotiations have been so messy that after a solid 2 years, no one has been able to agree upon anything. Immigration policy, safety regulations, energy access, labor laws, all of these issues are on the table because for the past 46 years, they've all been shaped by Britain's membership with the EU. It was back in June 2016 that 51.9% of the United Kingdom voted to leave the EU. It was a divisive and fraught election which resulted in that very close vote. And people have questioned the legitimacy of that referendum because of heavily misleading claims from the Vote Leave campaign and even allegations of Russian interference on social media. Sound familiar? The Remain campaign, for its part, was also accused of scaremongering, with dire predictions of financial crisis that have yet to come to pass. One of the biggest whoppers that was told: Vote Leave argued that exiting the EU would mean millions of pounds flowing back to the country's beloved NHS. They even put it on the side of a bus and had their leaders photographed with it. And a poll showed that nearly half of the British public believed them. But the day after the Brexit vote, Nigel Farage, who was part of the separate Leave EU campaign, said it was a mistake. The Vote Leave campaign was also found to have broken campaign finance law, according to the UK election watchdog, and they were fined £80,000 for it. Though it was Prime Minister David Cameron's idea to have the referendum in the first place, he supported the Remain in the EU campaign. The day after, when the results came in, he announced his resignation, and it's been a roller coaster ever since. I'm going to try to recap the major points for you. Theresa May became Prime Minister and started appointing people to help lead an orderly Brexit. Though people were already starting to challenge the results of the referendum by then, she was very firm that
Brexit means Brexit.
Meetings started, Article 50 was invoked, and in June 2017, the UK held a general election, showing cracks in the public's confidence in May. She had to join forces with another political party in order to keep a slim majority in Parliament. The UK then continued negotiations with the EU, but they stumbled into a number of obstacles. They can't agree on trade. They can't agree on what to do about the Irish border because Northern Ireland is part of the UK and the Republic of Ireland is part of the EU. But they all have existing trade, customs, and resource arrangements already. The old, hard border between the two countries was a symbol of conflict, and putting one up again could damage peace in the region. At this point, lawmakers, the British public, and the rest of the world are beginning to understand how complicated this process is. As a reminder, it's never been done before, so there's no blueprint to follow. By 2018, Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn started talking about his vision for a post-Brexit new customs union with the EU, which Leave supporters see as a total betrayal. But the public confidence is shaken in the process, and Parliament is splintering into different factions. By the fall of 2018, no major agreements have been reached, and 700,000 people march in London to call for a new referendum. They want to do it over. Shortly after that, EU leaders actually came to an agreement on a Brexit deal with May. It felt like a breakthrough, except that the deal is pretty unpopular back home. Members of her own party are unhappy because they think it leaves too much power with the EU. Members of the opposition think the plan isn't doing enough to protect the economy in the UK. But May still tries to get it passed because there is no other plan. Parliament soundly rejects it. They also rejected 8 other options put forward as alternative plans. And that's basically where we are now. No deal, no exit, and an uncertain path forward. Oh, and 1 million people marched in London to again call for a new referendum. That's according to organizers, while over 5 million people have signed a petition calling for the same thing. Brexit was supposed to allow Britain to take back control over its economic destiny and to allow it to chart its course in a post-imperial world. But we've seen it take down 2 prime ministers instead. As a result of all of the complications in the process, the country's future is now more unclear than it has been since the end of the Second World War.